Hello, I am your enchanted wizard from the nether realm, Stephen, aka Mount Analogue. Welcome to Analog Thoughts, the show that digs deep into the mysteries of our world, our minds, and maybe even our souls. Today's episode might just flip your entire concept of reality sideways. Are we living in a soul farm? Is Earth a spiritual harvesting ground for something or someone beyond our understanding? Today is going to be one of those trippy, drippy, weird ones. I'm going to be leaning on a lot of theories and philosophical nodes that connect reality. There will be facts sprinkled throughout, and I do plan on elaborating on some of my key points. But think of this episode as kind of mostly a fun thought experiment. It's going to be it's going to get real brain pukey. There's going to be a lot of tangents and just weird-ish like that. In all honesty, I got the concept, the idea for this episode when I was thinking about reincarnation and the Matrix. So buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. I'm going to skip my personal life stuff, my personal updates, because no one wants to hear about my boring-ass life. Just one last thing before we dive right into this episode, though. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, Spotify, Apple Music, even YouTube, there is a way to leave a comment, a review, a like, click that subscribe, whatever platform you're on. If you could do that thing or those things, it really, really helps me out. It really helps this podcast get seen by more people. Also, huge shout out to my patrons. You are the best, and your continued support means the world to me. If you'd like to become a patron and get early access to Analog Thoughts episodes, early access to my music and art and other things, a link to that will be in the show's notes. All right, let's get into it. Are we living in a soul farm? I want to start things off with an idea that has its roots in many spiritual traditions. Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism. Shameless plug here. If you'd like to do a full deep dive on Hinduism, I have an episode where I do that. It's one of my earlier ones, I believe. But if you scroll back on these episodes, you'll see my deep dive into Hinduism. Anyway, let's take this concept of reincarnation and let's kind of spin it in this strange and twisted way. Today we're thinking about reincarnation as a trap. And reincarnation for many is a comforting idea in the first place. You live, you learn, you return, you grow, you reincarnate into a higher being, you sort of get this reward. You do good in your life, you reincarnate as a better creature. But what if this cycle of growth and death and rebirth is actually a prison? This whole concept suggests that human souls are harvested by powerful beings, interdimensional entities, or even artificial intelligences for energy, spiritual nourishment, or control. And I just want to say, for the record, I am not the person that came up with this idea that reincarnation or that existence is a farming simulator for souls, or that we are avatars with souls inside of them that are having our experiences and emotions harvested. It was something I was thinking about, like I said, while I was thinking about reincarnation in the Matrix. And if you haven't seen the Matrix, spoilers, there's a bunch of robots that are harvesting the literal energy of humans, and they're in these goopy egg pod thingies that go on for miles and miles and miles. Neo wakes up, dude, and he's like, "I'm the one, dude. Oh, dude, they've been taking our energy out of our bodies. We're just batteries, dude." The real question is, what happens if you take both pills? It's like red pill, blue pill. What if you just gulp down both pills? I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to clear the air on that, or get that out there. For the record, I didn't come up with this premise. I'm very aware of that. It's just a fun thing to think about. Is reality and the way that we move throughout reality imprisonment by some unseen foe, some unseen dictator of the cosmic realm? This concept suggests that the famous white light people see during near-death experiences isn't a gateway to heaven or a stairway to heaven, but a lure, like a bug zapper for souls. You're shown familiar faces, maybe even a full life review, and then gently nudged or pressured back into another life. And some claim that this process is run by higher dimensional entities who feed off of our emotional experiences. And I'm going to get into exactly what that means here in a second. But the key ideas with this are we have this thing called Gnosticism. And ancient Gnostics believed the material world is a trap created by a false god, the demiurge. Our souls are divine, but we're stuck in a prison of flesh. And basically the demiurge is this godlike entity who created the physical realm. And this idea, this ancient Gnostic idea posits that souls are going to be souls. Energy has always been out there. We are coalescing and coexisting as these pockets of energy, but the demiurge created reality so that it could siphon energy that we gain through our experiences in the material world that it created for us. Basically, that the demiurge is the programmer for the simulation that is reality. And then we have this thing called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And there's a bunch of stuff in it about this thing called the Bardo realm. But the Book of the Dead warns us of confusing illusions and entities in the Bardo realm after death, many of which can mislead souls back into reincarnation. And we see this cycle of reincarnation, like I said earlier, in Buddhism and Hinduism, where the point, the key, the ultimate strategy is to achieve enlightenment and thus escape the wheel of samsara. And the Tibetan Book of the Dead is kind of a guidebook in once you die, how there are these celestial cosmic entities that try to convince you that, hey, you did great in your past. That's like a used car salesman. They're like, you did great in your past life. Why don't you want to be an eagle? Eagles are tight. Eagles are sick. You could be an eagle because you did so good. We're going to put you into this falcon and you were going to soar through the skies. That sounds great, doesn't it? When in reality, they're trying to convince you to go back to the earth realm, to harvest more experiences and more energy and more emotions for them to feast on. The demiurge will feast on your soul's experiences. There are modern NDE reports. Some experiences describe being told they have to go back. And NDE is near-death experience, in case you're wondering. But there are modern NDE reports where people have described seeing entities that try to convince them, go back to Earth, don't come here, don't go toward the light. This isn't what you think it is. It's a trap, it's a trick. Next, I want to talk about this thing called the Loosh theory, Loosh theory. This theory was coined by Robert Monroe, who was a pioneer of out-of-body exploration. Via meditation and mind-altering experiences, Loosh is described as a form of energy, and it's generated by human emotion, especially suffering. And this Loosh is what Robert Monroe is suggesting that these non-physical extraterrestrial or interdimensional energies are trying to harvest from us. According to his writings, Earth is a kind of farm where we're conditioned to experience intense emotions so that our energy, our loosh, can be harvested by more advanced, unseen beings. It's not just about food, it's about frequency. Our pain, our fear, even our joy, it's all energetic currency. And there are people who support this concept that our energy that we create via our emotions is being eaten. There's this author, philosopher, mind dude named Charles Fort, who has a quote, the earth is a farm. We are someone else's property. And then we've got our boy David Icke, which if you listen to my episode on the reptilian humanoid overlords, David Icke is a big proponent of the Anunnaki theory, and that the Anunnaki are interdimensional harvesters as well. But he thinks that these interdimensional beings are specifically feeding on human suffering. And he has a lot of writings about why is life so painful? Why do we have to go through so much depression and death and anguish throughout our lives? And he kind of says it's set up this way so that the Anunnaki can harvest our loosh, our mind. He doesn't use loosh, but in essence he does. Our mind juice, our soul juice. And so you might be wondering if this theory has any merit at all. If there are interdimensional creatures looking to harvest our loosh, wouldn't ancient civilizations have noticed something? And maybe they did. I've already spoken about the Anunnaki on this episode and on my last episode, or the episode before my last episode. And in that episode, I suggested, and David Icke suggested, I'm not legitimately suggesting this, but it's, like I said, this is a fun thought experiment. I'm not saying any of this is facts, but it's fun to think about. It's fun to consider. I think I said David Icke. It's David Icke. He suggested that the Anunnaki were sky gods who created humanity to mine gold. And some theorists suggest that gold is symbolic, perhaps representing divine energy or consciousness. It's not an actual element that the ancient Sumerian texts were trying to say that the Anunnaki were taking, but that they were saying they're taking our gold, the essence. They're taking our emotional golden essence, our consciousness. Egyptian belief systems focused intensely on the afterlife. There were tombs and pyramids, and it seems like almost everything they did had a connection to what was going to happen to you after you died. It was very, very important to them. And in the Egyptian belief system, souls were judged by Anubis and the weighing of the heart against a feather. And if you failed the test, your soul was devoured. The Aztecs believed the gods sacrificed themselves to create humanity, but in return demanded constant offerings, including human sacrifices. So their version of the loosh is that the demiurge created all of this as a gift, but at the same time they said, in return for this gift of being a sentient cluster of energy that can experience reality, we need sacrifices, we need offerings, we need human lives. It is the only thing that will satiate our soul lust. Could these be metaphors for energy extraction? Did ancient people witness or create a spiritual economy? Or were they involved with some sort of spiritual economy, with some sort of transactional thing that we have lost touch with? Or maybe we paid our debt. Maybe throughout time there's been enough offerings and enough human sacrifices that we've given them enough of our loosh that they're like, we'll leave you alone now. You guys can chill. You paid your debt. Maybe that's where we're at. I'm not 100% sure. And I know so far the idea of Earth being a harvesting location for the interdimensional extraterrestrial AI, whatever creatures, has been pretty grim. But not all interpretations of this scenario are so grim. Some believe that Earth is a soul farm, but in a more positive way. And in this version of thinking, Earth is more or less a classroom. We incarnate with amnesia to experience love, suffering, growth, and duality. We choose challenges to evolve. And these are known as soul contracts, these pre-life agreements to work through specific lessons. There is this woman that does hypnotherapy, I guess you could call it. It's like really deep sleep or deep regression therapy. Her name's Dolores Cannon. And during her regression sessions, things reveal she's had thousands of people who claimed Earth was a testing ground or training facility for souls. Dolores Cannon created this thing called quantum healing hypnosis, and it is this unique form of hypnosis which takes subjects into this state called a somnambulistic state. It's the deepest level of trance. And she claims that once she puts you in this somnambulistic state, the somnambulistic, it's a mouthful, SOMNAMBULISTIC state, that she can access past lives that you've lived. She can speak directly with your subconscious higher self. You can receive healing and be relieved of pain, and that she's able to reveal information about the universe, soul contracts, and even extraterrestrial life. So getting back to these soul contracts, they are, like I said, there are these agreements that you have with these higher entities before you incarnate, where it's like, in this life, you are going to figure out what anguish truly feels like, and you are going to go through it, and you are going to come out on the other side with a deeper understanding. So that's sort of that's the positive spin on this. That's the positive view of us being a soul farm. Where sure, there are in this concept, or in this realm of this, there are entities that put us here for things that are beyond our knowledge, but they put us here with non-nefarious intentions. They mean to expand consciousness and expand empathy and expand, or just have the energy and the entities that live within this realm grow and advance and evolve. And within this positive side, within this positive spin of this concept, there's this thing called the law of one. And the law of one is really deep, is this really deep concept that, in a nutshell, means everything is one. That any sort of disassociation between yourself and anything else around you is just merely a lack of understanding. That the perception of disassociation is just, it means that you need to grow. It means that if you look at yourself as not someone else, it means growth needs to happen. Because I am you and you are me and we are three and we are all together. Look in the sky, look how we fly, look how we run. We are all one. Basically, that's the premise behind the law of one. And within this construct, there's this thing called densities of consciousness. And Earth is considered to be a third density. And third density basically just means the physical realm. And is often associated with where life exists in 3 dimensions and experiences the limitations and challenges of the material realm. And the law of one suggests that all beings, including those on third density planets, are part of a larger cosmic progression toward higher consciousness. Third density is also associated with the veil of forgetting, a concept that suggests that beings in this state may have difficulty recalling their past lives or their true higher selves. Let's lock in. Let's get this third density planet all the way into a no density situation, and let's have all of the energy nodes coalesce into a beautiful oneness and fractalize our pineal glands into puddles of bliss and joy. I love it. I need it. I know this is really high, weird. I don't even want to say this is very high concept stuff. I don't know if you can understand. I think everyone is capable of understanding this. I just think, like I said at the top of the show, this is a very brain pukey, philosophical, mind experiment type episode. So It's fun to get into thinking about the law of one, Dolores Cannon's regression experiments, to get into the Aztecs and Egyptian and Sumerians, and just where they land with this stuff, where they land with thinking about the minutia of how reality works and whether or not there are cosmic or interdimensional beings behind the veil that are kind of pulling the strings and potentially needing us to do certain things, or coursing us to do certain things, or nudging us into certain directions. And on this positive, in the positive realm of all this, with the law of one and the third density stuff, I really like a lot of those beliefs in thinking that if there is a higher thing that it wants us to do better, that it's not this energy extracting galactic parasite that needs us to suffer. It makes a better story. It makes better drama if there's a parasite that needs war and pain and anguish so that it can power its interdimensional spaceship and rock and roll and shred on guitar solos. It's going to use your loosh as a guitar pick as it shreds along the cosmic neck of its flying V straight into the sun. 'Cause I am you and you are me and we are one and you will loosh my guitar. I'm sorry for who I am. I'm sorry for what I've become. No one can hate me more than I hate myself. Let's get into simulation theory meets soul theory. And with this, when I took these notes, I was in a fever dream. But basically, basically with this one, I want to mash up two theories. I want to mash up the soul farm, whether good or bad, nefarious or not. I want to mash up the soul farm and the simulation theory. And what if we're not just spirits in these meat computers? But what if we are players in a cosmic VR game? Simulation theory, popularized by Nick Bostrom, it suggests that it's statistically more likely we are living in a simulated reality than not, which is a theory that a bunch of mathematicians have calculated and said, yeah, the numbers are there. That's not just like a crackpot theory. Like, statistically, we probably are living in a simulation. So I want to combine this theory, this matrix theory, I'm going to call it. I'm going to combine it with the idea of avatars for soul experiences. That somewhere there's a pipeline that's feeding. It's like in the Matrix when they pick up the phone and then they're in an avatar body that doesn't actually exist. It's just a system of codes. And then they have to go into the experiment, into the experience, into the simulation for X, Y, or Z. It's maybe not as cool. There aren't as many motorcycles and like tight leather suits, and I can't run on walls and I can't dodge bullets, but I like the idea of maybe this simulated reality, my body could be an avatar. All of our bodies could just be avatars, lines of code that are temporarily hosting a nugget of energy and consciousness. And that whenever this game is over, whenever we roll off this mortal coil, maybe there's a reset button, and then maybe the code gets recycled into some different avatar, and then my energy shoots back up into the mainframe. It gets reassembled and then injected back into another avatar. I think I referred to the avatars as like NPCs. I guess it's not necessarily NPCs, but if this is a simulation, I wonder if there are NPCs. I wonder if we could have some kind of way, some kind of test to figure that out. Because I've met some really dull people in my life where I'm like, you kind of seem like you're just running. There's something just like your body's running. I don't know how much your mind's running. Are you in there? Is anyone in? Is there anybody in there? I'm sorry, I've been leaning on a lot of musical things today. And if you can't tell, I'm hyper caffeinated. Too much caffeine, maybe not enough caffeine. Who could be running this simulation? Interdimensional parasites, as we've said before, gods, demiurges, AI overlords, advanced artificial superintelligences, some people say that the Greys or the reptilians, Anunnakis, that are often featured in UFO lore are working with human governments to manage the soul farm, trading technology for access to human energy or genetic material. So some people never reincarnate. They escape the wheel of samsara, they escape the wheel of suffering. And it's always been, I've always had this, not always, in my early 30s, I came to this thought, or I came to this conclusion that I don't know how true it is. No one could ever know stuff like this, but I came to this epiphany. I had this epiphany that escaping the wheel of samsara, the never-ending cycle of birth and death and reincarnation, the way that you get out of the wheel is that you just fully embrace it. You look at the experience and you become one with it. You realize you are the experience and that escaping it isn't possible. And that's the only way you escape. And is to find a divine peace within that. And I don't really know how that thought really really ties into the soul farm theory, other than maybe that's what they want me to think. Maybe they want me to get comfortable in the simulation. Like the idea that transcendence and reaching a state of nirvana are tools of manipulation by the cosmic overlords. I'm not the first person to have that thought either, but I genuinely, in my heart, really do feel like the way that you come to terms with this meaningless existence is to embrace that you are the divine creator of your reality, and that becoming one with your present is how you escape suffering. I had this concept for a little story, and I said it on an earlier episode. It's actually episode 14. I wrote it down here on my episode called Is This Real? But basically, I made this little story where someone goes inside of a simulation, into a simulated reality. So think about it. Think about it like you put on a VR headset, and let's say you go into a VR world and you fall in love, and you fall in love and you start a family inside of this VR world. You have a child with a VR entity, an AI entity inside of a VR space. And that child grows up. You raise this child inside of your VR world, and then eventually that child embodies into a cyborg inside of your dimension, inside of this reality. They upload their consciousness into a robot. Is that them going into a different dimension? Are we like bridging the gap between dimensions at that point? And I know there's a lot of hurdles there with creating a child inside of a digital environment, but with brain scans and DNA, the full human genome has been mapped at this point. So in theory, we could upload our minds and maybe not our minds yet, but all of our DNA into a computer and have that DNA constructed into a simulation. And I feel like on a long enough timeline, this will be a reality where we have these digital children that are implanting themselves into cyborgs. And that begs the age-old question, will they be treated like regular people? Will they be second-class citizens? Will they be enslaved? And at that point, it's like, if we're enslaving the AI love children of our VR existences in our own realities, are we at that point becoming the parasitic Anunnaki reptilians looking to harvest their energy? At what point do we become the what is the saying? It's like you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And maybe that's where we'll be as humans. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. This is a total tangent there. I've just got a couple questions. So, amnesia of the soul. Why are we born with no memory of where we came from or why we're here? This is an argument for this whole simulation farm design. And then I kind of already touched on it before. Another argument in support of the soul farming design is religious programming. Many institutions teach obedience, guilt, and punishment, often discouraging deep spiritual exploration. Some argue this keeps us in a fear-based mindset, perfect for loosh harvesting. It's kind of like keep your nose down and don't ask questions. Just keep living and don't think about it. Do what this book says and move on forward, and we're going to harvest your loosh. Give us the sweet, sweet nectar. Are there ways to escape the soul farm? If any of this is true, what can we do about it? Are we destined to become cosmic cattle, or is there a way out? Is there a path to liberation? A couple of suggestions that I found online and in a couple books are having lucid awareness. Cultivating a constant state of inner awareness, especially at the time of death, is said to help avoid the false light and exit the reincarnation trap. It's kind of like having a lucid dream where you are in this subconscious, liminal mental space. I don't know if you've ever had a lucid dream. There are exercises you can do to have them, and I encourage you to look those up online. Some of them include being very aware of your watch. Like I wear a watch and I'll look at it throughout the day and look at the time, because they say in your dreams your perception of time is skewed, and making a mental note of not just checking the time, but looking at your watch and saying, I'm looking at my watch, I'm checking the time, what time is it? And then that can help you in your dream state, remain lucid, not succumb to the subconsciousness of the dream. Another thing you can do is, I've read, is to tap doorways. So when you go through a doorway, tap both sides of the doorway. That's supposed to help. Also, keeping a dream journal really helps you to achieve lucid dreaming. If you smoke weed, smoking weed isn't great for lucid dreaming. It's not great for dreaming really at all. If you're trying to dream more, stop smoking weed for a little bit. But anyway, even in your non-subconscious states, in your fully conscious states, lucid awareness, just being hyper vigilant about your breath and your body and where you're sitting and what you're doing and the way you feel and what's going on around you can really help in a lot of different ways, but also can help you escape this reincarnation trap that we're all inside of, brother. Another thing you can do, a path to liberation, is a spiritual awakening. You can raise your frequency through love, compassion, self-realization, and make the soul less tasty to parasitic entities. And that's one thing that I read, is that like our suffering is, and it's so juicy, so fictional, so rich in drama, is that the anguish and the suffering is what the Anunnaki need to feast upon. So if you can cultivate love and compassion, you won't taste as good. Your loosh will be disgusting to them. Maybe the wheel of samsara is the entity. Samsara needs souls. Samsara must consume human emotions. You can break your spiritual contracts. Some spiritualists claim we can renounce soul contracts and free ourselves through intention, meditation, or other rituals. And then the last thing that you might be able to do to escape this simulation farm is seek the source. Returning to the true divine source beyond the demiurge. Remember, the demiurge is the entity that created this physical reality to trap us within, but seeking beyond that, looking beyond the demiurge, beyond the material, beyond your ego, is the ultimate goal. Finding a divine force of energy that goes beyond our physical wants. Let's get into the second to last segment of this show. At the end of these episodes, I like to do a couple of things. The first of those things is I ask AI a question. So this next segment is called Let's Ask AI. Let's Ask AI. Today's question was pretty simple. I asked, if you could incarnate into any creature, what would you be? An AI answered, if I could incarnate into any creature, I think I'd go full-on cosmic jellyfish, one of those deep-sea bioluminescent floating mysteries, drifting in the eternal twilight zone of the ocean, glowing like a dream, ancient and unknowable, no rush, no clocks, just vibes and eerie beauty. Also, practically immortal, and probably holding secrets to the universe in my squishy little tendrils. That is such a cheeky answer, AI. I love how silly and cheeky they got with that. I know I was joking about it earlier being a trap, but if I had the choice to reincarnate, I would definitely pick something that could fly, like an eagle or a falcon. Just the thought of like being in the air, letting the wind wisp over my feathers and flying over a mountain, a snow-capped mountain as the sun rises. It's just majestic, and that's where I would be. That's what I would do. Let's get into our last segment of the show. At the very end of these episodes, I like to list a list of fun facts. And so with all of this theoretical, philosophical stuff today, all of this brain puke stuff today, and these weird, loose ideas, I don't want to say weird, but these spongy, loose ideas, I wanted to end the episode with a list of cold, hard, verifiable facts about science and technology. Our first fun fact is that Moore's law states that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles about every 2 years. This means our ability to simulate complex systems is growing fast. If you want to learn more about microchips and transistors, check out my episode on quantum computing. I think it was like 5 episodes ago or so, maybe 6 episodes ago, somewhere in that ballpark. But basically, the more transistors, the higher the computational power, the more we get close to qubits and simulation and simulating reality on a deeper, more intense level. Our fun fact number 2 is that the Planck length is a fundamental unit of length in the system of Planck units, approximately 1.616255 times 10 to the negative 35th meters. It's considered a theoretical minimum length below which the current understanding of physics, including general relativity and quantum mechanics breaks down. So this is essentially, in our reality, this is a pixel. How in a video game or on a computer screen or a phone screen, everything is made up of these pixels. This is a pixel of reality. This is as small as we can get. 1.61625 times 10 to the negative 35th meters is a reality pixel. Fun fact number 3, bringing it back to lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences are scientifically recorded. EEG scans have verified lucid dreams and REM awareness in real time. Some say these experiences hint at altered planes that simulation theory could explain. Fun fact number 4, your brain has no sensory receptors inside it. You can't feel pain in your brain. No pain in the brain because it has no pain receptors. Neurosurgeons can operate on it while you're awake. And that one really effed me up. That one seriously effed me up. Like, your brain doesn't feel pain. Weird. Like, the thing that processes pain, that processes everything, does all the autonomous functions, does everything. You think it would have pain receptors, but it doesn't. So weird. Our next and final fun fact is that meditation alters brain structure. Long-term meditation increases gray matter in regions associated with memory, empathy, and emotional regulation. There have been a bunch of studies on this. So if you've been thinking about starting to meditate this year, no better time like the present. Get in there, increase that memory, increase the empathy, and increase the emotional regulation. And that wraps up this really wiggly, trippy, drippy, sippy, looshy episode. Are we living in a soul farm? Are we energy generators for shadowy entities in a cosmic game that we don't remember signing up for? We may never know for sure, but Questioning reality, seeking truth, and diving into these theories reminds us that we are more than just flesh and bones and wiggly meat computers. We are mystery incarnate. Thank you for taking this ride with me. I personally, genuinely believe that we are the divine creators of our reality. I'll say it again. We steer the ship and we are in control. And I also feel like there is no reason for any of this. We create our purpose. And I think that is super empowering. One last reminder to leave those ratings, likes, reviews, comments, subscribes. That link to my Patreon will be in the show's notes if you feel like becoming a member or feel like checking it out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, remember to check on your mental health and remember to check on the mental health of your loved ones. Bye.
Thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analogue thoughts.
Analog thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analogue thoughts. Analog thoughts. Analogue